Hello, everyone. So, today was supposed to be another interview with Dr. Jerome Corsi. And once more, incredible, we had to postpone the interview at the last minute because his website has been hacked. And he was going to come firstly to talk about his latest book, which is the Anti-Globalist Manifesto, a war against humanity, or how to end a war against humanity. And it is enlightening. It is amazing to read not only his very in-depth analysis of today's times that we're living. He goes into all the issues that are really overwhelming the populations, the West mostly, between the insanity of the transgender, the blasphemy on all religions, especially on Christianity, and the impoverishment of our social structure, the fabric of our civilization, and why this has been orchestrated and managed and imposed on us. And also he discusses ways in order to counteract this agenda, which is mostly basically led by the World Economic Forum. And but also he was going to come because he just filed a few days ago with Dr. Andrew Paquette at the Ohio Secretary of State, a filing because they found a cryptographic algorithm that was secretly embedded in the Board of Election voter registration database of the state of Ohio. And this algorithm practically manipulated the voter registration rolls and definitely the vote. So I was so interested to hear what the finding has been. They found, if I remember correctly, that there was a mathematical process based on the number 8, and I wanted to hear more of precisely how this algorithm worked and how it affected the vote in the state of Ohio, and therefore get into the fraud argument, the fraud matter, because we are in front of the elections, the most consequential. Really, these are the most consequential elections of our recent history. Everything changes. We are either heading towards freedom or really towards tyranny. And at least we never, I would have to be cynical a little bit. I don't believe the people, the populations, have ever been really free. There has always been some sort of control over the various countries. But because of technology, because of the ease with which the governments can go inside each and everybody's rooms, inside even your pocket today with your telephone, with your cell phone, they have a grip on the mind of the people, on the psyche of the people, that wasn't able to be done in the previous decades, and or even in the centuries. While it may be in the centuries back, the people did not have the freedoms we have today because of the backward technology, in the sense that they couldn't fly on holiday, or they couldn't just pick up the phone and call their and talk on a video message people, or share videos, or record with a telephone. They didn't have access to all this information. They didn't even have we didn't even have access to certain means of transportation, and so people were more confined to their own towns, to their own cities, to their own nations, and And in fact, they developed very distinct mentalities because of this confinement that was, and in a sort of way, the lack of technology, the lack of even industrial products. Please, people, excuse my English. It's my second language. It doesn't come natural. I have to translate from the Italian continuously. Close parenthesis. So, because we didn't have all these means of transportation, of communication, of everything, even the basic appliances in the house. Uh, it was easy for the tyrants, for the governors, to maintain control because the people had little means to evade. Now we have the means to evade, but they do not physically. But we have less means to evade mentally. So while back in the years and decades before, people had really the freedom of thought, had the freedom of manifesting its own personal aspirations, to manifest its personality, its role in the world, to express himself or herself through the arts and the work. Today, everything has been so depersonalized. You are just an object. Today you have the freedom to travel, you have the freedom to call in Australia and with a video message, with a video call anytime, with just a click. But you are a slave in the mind because of this technology. And so now there is a battle. There is a battle, and how to, we see how Hillary Clinton wants to jail people. And many others too. I mean, they're doing that in England. Keir Starmer, he wants to jail people because of bad memes or an offensive, which offensive is very subjective. People might say that I am offensive if I call a transgender man or woman man. If he's a man and he wants to look like a woman, for me, he's a man. He might get offended. But I, on my side, am offended by his wanting me to believe that he is a decent person. He is totally indecent. I am offended by the way he presents himself. I think it's indecorous, not decorous. And so, whose offense has more value, mine or his? And so all these this tyranny that is imposed on the freedom of communication between the people, of expressing our own opinions, is a tyrannical. There is one side that is these people, and then there's the other side, the people that are pro-humanity, pro-enlightenment, pro-freedom of thoughts. If there's freedom of thought, there is progress. If you close the wings of thinking, of creativity, progress falls down. It is obvious. If you are not inspired, if you're not able to express your imagination, what can you invent? You can only emulate. You can only be a robot. And we have people, as I was saying, on the other side that are pro-humanity, are pro-freedom, like Elon Musk. We have this fantastic coalition, this coming together between the Democrats and the Republicans in America that have different ideologies or different views on things, but they come together in the idea that the dignity of the person must be respected. And this is very beautiful. And so we have these to make these important representatives, let's say, these two groups that are, there's this war in the Olympus between these two groups of people, and that fundamentally some are pro-humanity and some are pro-transhuman whatever, godless, soulless, that are championed by people like Harari, Yuval Harari, Klaus Schwab, even if he retired, and all those maniacs that are only for power, that live only to maintain their status of power. And there is a beautiful saying that these people who people believe these are the rich and powerful, but the truth of the matter is that there is this saying, which is one of the most classic quotations, is that it's not the man who has little, but the man who craves always more to be poor. So you see, these people are poor in the soul. They are empty and they are angry because maybe despite all the material things they have no God inside of their soul. And they're destined to die, sadly. But in the meantime, they cause a lot of bloodshed in the world. And we are in a very, very, very sad situation. And lots of conflict is also happening here in Europe. Now, because of this mass migration that has been architected, orchestrated, let's say, in order to disrupt the tranquility of the people, because it's not just through in putting down, smashing the economy of the people that you block them from growing, developing, traveling, living safely and with tranquility and serenity. It's not only through exactly by making them more poor, which they're doing. This inflation, to my own opinion, is totally manufactured. Then they find 1,000 million excuses to raise the prices, like the energy cost, this and that. But it is totally out of the question that it is done on purpose to impoverish the pockets, to hit the pockets of the people. The more people have to spend for food, the less they have to travel or go for a small dinner, or and they destroy the economy on the whole, and they just put people on their knees. And another way is through migration. So there's this process of demoralization there, through the medicine and the pharmaceutical. They're poisoning. Through the foods, they're all filled with chemicals and hormones and all sorts of these things. In Italy, we're much, much luckier than the rest of the world, we have to say, because we're very particular with our foods. And just imagine, Italy has a 70% of the world's biodiversity in this little strip of land that is only 0.5% of the whole world's land. So we have a culture for that, but the rest of the world is really in balia, how do we say, in the hands of the wind of the industry, and the food industry. So we have this attack through food, this attack through the money supply, and this attack on our culture and identity. Culture and identity is extremely important. It gives us a sense of belonging. You are a human being when you are not only a name and the last name. You are the product of generations of people who were born in probably the land where you live, and that passed on to you, not all just the genes, but it's also the emotions. People don't realize that they pass on the experience. It's the light of love, of life. And this is why we feel at home in certain lands. It is something very deep. And it's the sense of belonging, that gives us our identity. And it is who you are. As I say, you're not just a name and the last name on a piece of paper. It's You are something much deeper. And this they want to destroy. And they want to destroy it through these migrations of populations that are completely different from ours, from each other. I am certain that we would disrupt completely the traditions, the life, the internal serenity, the internal harmony of the Africans if we started invading the African countries and disrupting their cultures and that maybe we don't understand because in some ways we think, oh, they're very, very poor. But each population, each ethnicity has its own process of growth, its own development process. Like a child, you can't bring a child and make him act like an adult or vice versa. There is everything has a process and a course, and you have to allow this to. You can help it to maybe channel it if you think that if they want, but if they don't want, if they don't want you around, you don't have to impose yourself and your democracy. I don't think we should impose other cultures to behave like ours. In our culture, we have many things that are absolutely disgusting for other cultures. For example, we hypersexualize children or girls, and this is not accepted, for example, in many Muslim countries, and I respect that. They respect us, and they don't, but they should respect us and we should respect them. We shouldn't go there and tell them how to treat their women. If their women have an issue with how their men treats them, they start protesting. We had our wars, they have to have their wars. You have to let them solve their matters the way they, in their own way. And unless they come and scream for help, that's another story. But we can't go and impose our help. And this is my view. And talking about immigration, just yesterday there was another stabbing in Amsterdam. So apart from the fact that this proves that it's not the gun that is the problem, it's not the Second Amendment, that it's the problem in America. Because killers, if they don't have a gun, they kill with a knife. If they don't have a knife, they kill with the acid. They find a way to kill you with poison, with whatever. Killers kill. And in London, I think it's the number one city in the world for the prime is the winner, and the winner is London for being the number one city in the world of having crime more than New York. And they don't have the Second Amendment in England, so how is that? There must be. This is a discussion the Americans should a question they should ask themselves. Those that are against the Second Amendment. But what I want to say, there has been this other stabbing, and we have seen that now the wind is changing. Some people are waking up to the problems they caused. Germany has had the highest immigration, I think, since they opened the borders, and Angela Merkel said, "Oh, you just all come in," and they already had many immigrants, many people from Turkey, etc. And all these people from Turkey are like silent soldiers because of Erdogan, because they're not loyal to Germany, they're loyal to Turkey. All these Muslims are not loyal to the country they have been, because otherwise they would integrate. They would love to be like the women would love to be like us, and the men would, wouldn't pray in the mosque from the morning to the night, and wouldn't want their women to be dressed with the burqa. They would be fully integrated, but they're not, because they don't want to. That's why. So they're not loyal to you. They're not loyal to our culture. They just come here because it's not only it is beneficial for them and maybe economically, but also because it's down deep inside, they have this desire to convert and take over our countries. And so they are like silent soldiers ready to be activated anytime when Erdogan or somebody else says, "Oh, hello, Angela Merkel, if I can't have this or that, if you don't support this or that, I'm gonna tell my citizens, my Muslims over there to create problems. And so we are like hostage, hostage to the immigrants that we welcomed. So not only that, but we are victims in many ways. Apart from the fact that with us payers that we fund their welcome, their homes, their foods. They have prepaid credit cards, and then we have people even here in Italy that do the lines in these places called Caritas, where they look, they hand out food or clothes, my heart, it just destroys to see these people that worked all their lives, that contributed to my country so so meaningfully, maybe gave birth to children who now work, and they're treated like that. So the same in America. You have the American veterans that sleep in the street, and immigrant that has an apartment who hates America, doesn't even speak English, doesn't care about the country, never paid a single dollar in tax. So there has been the stabbing in Amsterdam, and many more, just the latest of many, many horrible crimes, like the ones of the two girls in England recently. It's just heart wrenching what's going on. I can't walk, me myself, I can't walk safely. I don't feel, when I walk in my city in Milano, I make sure not to show my bracelets or my earrings. And I would, when I was a girl, like 13 years old, 14 years old, I would get on the tram and, wear even nice watch with my girlfriends and laugh and sing in the streets. And we would dance, in the evening in the Italian piazzas, and doesn't exist anymore, this. And I would have never believed, was sure 1,000% that the more I was going to grow up, the better it was going to become. And no, the opposite happened. And I want to say one thing. Now, the Netherlands did this opt out from the EU migration policies. Germany said no more as immigration, and we will start deportation, even if they just assigned 250,000 people from Nigeria to come in as workers the next day that they announced it. I hope it's not just an announcement. But anyways, they announced it, and now that they announced it, the people in many associations will start pushing for them to put the money where their mouth is. Okay, and then there is also Sweden. Sweden, for the first time this year, has a net migration that is negative, because apart from the fact that Sweden has a climate that the Africans don't appreciate, it's very hard to live in Sweden in the winter. They have winter like 10 months a year. And for them, it's hard to live in those weathers. And also because they the Swedish government decided that just yesterday, the day before, they just recently, however, announced that they will opt up several EU regulations, and that they will not enforce them in Sweden. So they had enough, and Sweden has had enough. It's such a beautiful country, so peaceful. The people there are just wonderful. My best friend is Swedish, and she suffered a lot. Okay, from this problem, her and her daughters, and so I'm close to the country. I really feel for Sweden. Beautiful people, and they want to. Even in Italy, we have many problems. I mean, all over we have problems. So even England, they just said that they will start going slow with the immigration. They never did, but at least they announced these things. But what is going on? So first of all these measures are to be welcomed, and are to be, we have to ask for more. We have to make sure to put pressure on our governments for them to really do what they say they want to do. And I'm talking to the Europeans right now. Please, always contact even your mayor. You have to really act locally. If everybody starts contacting their mayor just by email saying, I had these problems, whatever problem that you have every day, just put a little list and send an email, maybe once a week. Just imagine being overwhelming all the mayors' emails, of our European cities and towns, all full of the emails of people that are unhappy of what this immigration is causing them. They understand this pressure politically, and this is what we have to do of us as citizens. And also, I want to say something else. There's some social media bloggers, influencers that say, well, yes, this is nice, but we should want more. We shouldn't want. Maybe these are influencers that made a career out of the immigration problem, because these are like their battle horse, like we say in Italy. And if you take away their battle horse, then they don't have a battle and they lose their platform. And they don't want to lose their platform, they don't want to lose their relevance. And so they don't really want the problem to be solved. They leverage from the problem to gain political visibility, political or on journalistic visibility. And these people will never be satisfied. Instead of being happy with how the things are evolving, they start saying, well, but I don't want this to happen. I want something else to happen. I want something more to happen. So let's start getting one thing done. And then after the one thing is done, we can move on and do the second thing. Okay. And if it's not enough, the first move. First, let's start step by step. Let's start getting in one. Okay. If I give you one, I say, well, no, I don't want one. I want 1,000. It will never work. Start getting one. And if one is not enough, ask for two. And if two is not enough, ask for three. This is the smart thing. Otherwise, I have to believe that you are only interested in gaining consent thanks to the malcontent of the people that follow you. And there are many journalists and influencers out there that you will see do this. No. It's good what happened. It's good that the things are moving, that the mentality is changing, probably even in the vision that Trump will come back. And I say one thing, if Trump comes back to the White House, which I pray every moment of the day, he will close the border 100% effectively, efficiently, because you can do it. And he will start the deportations. And America has always been the locomotive of the train. The other governments will have, especially the governments like my government, the Italian government of Giorgia Meloni. It's a right wing, and she's a very intelligent lady. And she can say, well, you see, America does it. We can too. So for me personally, the outcome of these coming of the American elections is the outcome of the elections of the future of the West, of the whole Western bloc. So anyway, thank you so much. I did this video because I was ready to record with Dr. Jerome Corsi to talk about what we said before, the Anti-Globalist Manifesto. You can see it here. You can order it on Amazon. I read it. Please, it's really illuminating. It is such a beautiful depiction of today's era, of today's problems, crazy insanities, and it's something to keep, even maybe one day to give to your son or grandson and say, look, this is what I had to go through in my life. You won't believe it. And And so thank you for watching this video with me, and I will have Dr. Jerome Corsi next Friday. Have a wonderful weekend. I wish you really all a fantastic weekend. Ciao.